Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today with my guests. My name is Raliat. I oversee Accion's advisory engagement across the Middle East and Africa. As many of you might know, Accion is a global nonprofit. We seek to create a financially inclusive world by leveraging the power of digital technology and working with a broad range of partners in different ways. This year's, I think, Financial Inclusion Week theme explores the ways in which digitalization can accelerate financial inclusion, or if not done right, can also exacerbate the gaps that we see and exclusion, especially for the most vulnerable customer segments. And this is core to Accion's mission. We work with various types of service providers and other partners to identify opportunities to bring viable and sustainable innovative solutions to underserved customer segments. I think when we talk about underserved customer segments, micro and small businesses in particular, but more generally and more broadly, micro, small, and medium businesses, MSMEs in short, which make up about 90% of the businesses in Africa and certainly create the bulk of the jobs. I believe about 80% of the jobs are particularly, I think, constrained when it comes to funding, capabilities, know-how, to run and grow their businesses sustainably. And I think for service providers, such as financial institutions as well, there are challenges in serving micro and small businesses in particular, especially those that tend to be informal and located away from urban and peri-urban areas. And I think it's as part of this that Accion and IFC are working to change, the notion that it is difficult and risky to serve, MSMEs. And as part of that, we're collaborating on a handbook to help financial institutions and other service providers to better understand and serve MSMEs sustainably by bringing out innovative financial and non-financial solutions. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Omo from IFC, to talk about, I think, the why of the handbook. This is part of a series of other handbooks supporting financial institutions, and she'll talk to us about why the handbook is particularly important at this time and what we seek to do with the handbook. Omo?
Thank you, Raliat. And thank you all. So the handbook, the context or the rationale for the handbook really came about as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. As you know, IFC has been running several investment and advisory programs targeting SMEs for several decades. And as part of our programs, we conduct regular surveys. So what we discovered during COVID-19 was that MSMEs in various African countries were making a rapid switch to digital solutions in order to respond to the needs of their customers and also to, as a result of the lockdowns that were taking place at the time. And so we found, for instance, that 53% of MSMEs in countries like Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Kenya, Uganda, where we're making, if they hadn't already made the switch, we're making that rapid switch to digital payments and digital marketing solutions. Fast forward to 2023, the MSME Pulse survey, which we also conduct regularly, shows that about 70% of MSMEs in countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa have adopted digital solutions. So, what this tells us is that really we need to respond to MSME needs in this rapidly evolving context. And this is why we thought it would be good to address this through a handbook. We have a series of handbooks that we launch periodically on specific topics. This upcoming handbook is going to be focusing on SME banking in the digital era. And so we're going to be looking at what are some of those innovations, digital solutions that are enabling us to deliver more value to MSMEs and that are enabling us to do so at scale. And in the course of this handbook, and I believe with respect to this particular topic today, it became very evident that partnerships are critical to the success of many of these solutions, the innovative solutions that are showcased in the handbook. And they run through every part of the customer journey. And so we felt it was quite important to have this discussion. It's a discussion that we've been a part of in different contexts on the continent. And I think it's really something that many institutions, whether they be banks, fintechs, mobile money operators, are really interested in, and particularly to see how they can have more successful partnerships. So I'm hoping that this discussion can add to that chorus and add to the knowledge that is already out there, and bring us closer to a blueprint or some kind of roadmap that enables us to have more of these types of partnerships and more of them being successful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Omo. And with that, I think I'll ask my panelists to introduce themselves, their organization, and really speak a little bit about the customers that you serve and the problems that you're trying to solve. And I'll have the audience know that one of the things we wanted to do in bringing this panel together is bring pairs of successful partnerships together so that you can hear from all sides of different partnership structures and agreements, what has worked, what hasn't worked. And so let me start with Leeth. If you could please introduce yourself, the company, and talk a little bit about the customers you serve and the problems you're trying to solve for them.
Thank you very much. My name is Leeth Gondwe. I work for JUMO Zambia. A little bit about JUMO is JUMO is a technology company that has built smart financial services platform to make finance accessible to everyone. We have a partnership in Zambia. We're across many African countries, but we have a partnership in Zambia with MTN. We started in 2015. So been with MTN for quite a while. Basically, we serve SMEs, individuals with non-collateral loans. So basically, we use our technology and the MTN base to score customers on the eligibility and the loans they're able to access, which they pay back via mobile money. This partnership has worked well for the past years. We've disbursed around 3.4 billion since then. And we've served quite a large part of the MTN base so far. Some of the challenges we've received is rural penetration. Would really like to do more rural lending because we feel that people in the rural areas actually need these services the most. We find that the current trend is we have more urban dwellers accessing these services. So we would like maybe to discuss more on how we can access and penetrate more of the rural bases.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Leeth. I'm eager to hear more about the partnership, and I'll turn it over to Chikondi to introduce yourself and the organization and a little bit about the customers you serve.
Thank you very much. My name is Chikondi Mwanza. I am the head of products and strategy for MTN Mobile Money Zambia. From a global context, MTN, and before I go there, Omo, I heard in your description, you mentioned mobile money operators and fintechs, and we don't create a division there. We actually are a fintech, and so we believe at a global perspective, we are Africa's leading fintech. We operate in 17 countries. Our strategic intent really is to lead digital solutions for Africa's progress. And as this conversation goes, and I think from the introduction that you heard, one of the key, MSMEs are at the very core of Africa's progress in as far as creating employment and then as far as create growth, GDP growth as a whole. From a more local standpoint, we are one of Zambia's leading fintechs in the country with over 4.5 million customers. We serve currently over 130,000 active merchants on our portfolio. the vast majority of whom are SMEs, MSMEs, as well as we have over 102,000 active agents that are providing services to our customers in the various areas. And really, this is the lifeblood of our business, because they're the ones that really take the service to the last mile to our customers. And really, the biggest problem statement that we're trying to fix is really to drive financial inclusion within the country. I think when mobile money took over, the financial inclusion rates were sub 30%. We're now sitting in excess of 60% financial inclusion, and our goal is to drive this to near 90% plus. You know, in the range of other more developed countries like South Africa. And we also want to drive. We want to enable digital payments, right? So enabling the digital economy in the more rural areas, or to the people who are financially excluded. And to borrow a term that my boss, my MD, consistently mentions when he speaks, he says Zambia is not poor, Zambia is just financially excluded. So that is one of the key things that we are trying to solve as a business.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I like that. And Naomi, if you would, please.
Good afternoon, everyone from Nairobi. My name is Naomi Ndele, and I am the head of SME and Agribusiness in KCB Bank Kenya. Just a little bit about KCB Group. We are in 7 countries. We are a regional bank, and we are in 7 countries, mainly Kenya being the largest subsidiary, KCB Bank Kenya. We also have National Bank of Kenya as part of the group. We also are in KCB Uganda, KCB Tanzania, KCB Rwanda, and Burundi. Recently, we acquired a bank in DRC, so we are represented in DRC. We are also in South Sudan, and we have a representative office in Ethiopia. We also have, as part of the group, KCB Foundation, which really supports our community service. We also have KCB Investment Bank and KCB Insurance, which supports the bank assurance needs of our customers. We also have KCB Asset Management, which is also part of the KCB Capital investment services. So with this, we have a total of 32 million customers within the group. We also have quite a large network of channels, digital ATM services. We also have agency banking, which serves our customers. So in total, we have almost 610 branches within the network. We have a total workforce of 10,000 employees. So we are indeed one of the largest banks within this part of Africa. So with this, and as part of the group, we serve a very wide segment of customers. MSME, which is micro, small, and medium enterprises, falls under our retail banking division. We have a total of over a million MSME customers within KCB Bank Kenya, which is the largest subsidiary. And it is from this segment that we found a great need to bring in inclusive finance for some of the very underbanked, so to speak, segment. And in this case, this were the women entrepreneurs. So I will be sharing more about the partnerships we have had in supporting inclusion of financial services and non-financial services for women entrepreneurs, which is really one of the segments that is really coming up strongly even in this region. So that is just a quick highlight of who we are.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. And I'm keen to get into the meat of the discussion. As Omo outlined in her intro, in our work, we find that partnerships has been a key enabler for a lot of the innovation that we see out there when it comes to financial services, particularly for MSMEs. And we also know that MSME needs range from your core banking needs, credit, insurance, savings, to non-financial needs. So being able to have the right capacity, the knowledge, know-how, information, and certainly tools to be able to deploy within their own businesses and grow their own businesses. One of the things we hear a lot about is how difficult it is to identify, the appropriate partners out there that can bring, and complement solutions and capabilities that service providers have and need in order to fulfill these MSME needs. So I guess my first question to all of you, maybe starting with Leeth, is how did you go about identifying the right partner? What was it about, the partners that you eventually chose that suggested it could be a successful partnership? And what did you do to actually put the partnership in place? I think this is one of the key areas that many providers struggle with.
Basically for us, the decision was not hard, so to say. At the time, MTN was really driving financial inclusion, and they were really pushing, their agent network, their customer base through many incentives, which became very attractive for us to partner with them. I wouldn't like to mention any comparisons, but this also made us open discussions with them, and their receptiveness and their hunger and thirst to push financial inclusion made it easy to partner with them. One of the good things about these partnerships is that MTN moves really quickly when it comes to anything innovation, because they really like to provide financial services to their customers and grow the mobile money base.
And did you find, Chikondi, on your part with MTN when looking at JUMO, did you find the same level of receptiveness, agility, as you were looking at the ecosystem and identifying partners?
Yes, very much so. If anything, they're actually a lot more agile than we are, because to answer your question, yes, we really did find that they were very agile, and they're also very receptive to ideas. We've had a number of engagements. I think we consistently have this level of engagements where we look at the particular problem statement together, and we see how can we together find these solutions that actually improve the service for our customers. Because as you can imagine, between ourselves and them, the primary goal is to serve the customer, right? So whether this be a subscriber, be it an SME, MSME, be it an agent, ultimately the goal is to serve and provide a product for the customer.
And Nancy, I mean, as you say, KCB is in 7 different countries, and I imagine that some of your considerations as you're thinking about partnerships and how to create these types of innovative solutions for your broad range of customers is also a little different when you think about the lens that you apply. Could you walk us through some of your considerations when you look at partners and how you identify and select the right partners for your needs?
So for this particular innovative product, we needed a partner who fully understands the segment. And so we had a number of partners who were interested, but the one we settled with was, should I call them an expert in serving, especially the micro and the small enterprises for women. So they had expertise in markets that are similar to ours. And it was important that we get a partner who will assist us innovate a solution that speaks to the customer need. And one of the biggest pitfall we have in serving women entrepreneurs is really around understanding gender differences. So it was important that we got a partner who was very knowledgeable on gender intelligence and the ability to really go into the cultural aspects that separate the needs of female customers and those of male customers. So for us, that technical knowledge was very key in assisting us to identify the partner.
Fantastic. And I'll stay with you since you have the mic. Can you tell us a little bit more about the solution itself? What is it? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? Who is the target end customer? You mentioned women, but maybe a little bit more about these women and what made the solution innovative, I think, primarily.
Okay, so the solution was really to optimize financial and non-financial services for women-owned small and medium enterprises. And we carried out a survey, and one of the key things that came out from the survey was what was a woman entrepreneur looking for from a financial institution. And what really popped out of that survey was that certainly the current way of banking did not support female entrepreneurs. And one of the largest challenges was around assessing credit, where financial institutions insist on collateral, which is the biggest challenge for female customers, and especially from this part of the world where women literally do not own anything. So asking for collateral, and especially landed collateral in the form of property, was really one of the reasons that women would just not even come to seek credit facilities from a bank. So we needed to come up with an innovative solution that would address that challenge. And with that, also bring in the cultural aspects and the gender intelligence of how do we serve women, and at the same time not put down the existing customers we had in the male customers. So bringing that balance and ensuring that we create a solution that would serve the women but not lock out the men was the problem we were trying to solve.
Thank you. And how important was it to incorporate digital into this solution, and digital technology, channels, tools, etc., for it to be successful?
So to start off, just from the way we would do our credit analysis, we needed a lot of paperwork. So we needed to cut that out and try and accommodate the women entrepreneurs, because one of their biggest needs was convenience. So we needed to have a solution that we would be able to communicate, we would be able to get information from the female entrepreneur without having to use the traditional way of filling out forms and most importantly, some of the requirements we ask for credit come in, papers, so financial statements and things like that. So we needed to think differently and come up with a way of getting this information from the customer in a more convenient way, and also get information ordinarily, again, like I said, women not only not have collateral, even those financial statements and audited accounts, there was one of the things they don't have. So what was the other way of assessing this entrepreneurs without asking for this information? So we had to come up with a new methodology of collecting information from them without demanding for some of these traditional requirements. And this needed a lot of digitization. It needed a lot of removing physical papers from it and having contact with the customer without having to come into the branch.
Thank you. And I'll come back to Chikondi and to you, Leeth. I love how you talk about partnership. I mean, this has been waxing strong now, it sounds like, for 8 years. Could you tell us a little bit more about what JUMO brought to the table, what MTN brought to the table, and how you were able to really, I would say, adequately combine the respective strengths of both companies to create a solution that works for customers? I think that journey is not always the smoothest when we talk about partnerships. So I'm curious to hear how you've made it work.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. You know, when we think back about the time when we were introducing this product, I think it was the first of its kind in the country. The bigger challenge is always about making people understand what it is that this is going to do. And as you can imagine, we're moving away from, you know, as Naomi spoke about earlier, you're moving away from traditional banking, right? Where the only way that people knew how to get loans was either salary-backed loans from a regular microfinance, right? A collateral-based loan, or from the bank perspective, where you literally had to consistently walk into the bank and get fill out a form and things like that, or into the microfinance and fill out a form and leave collateral and things like that. Now we're moving away from that into a place where we're bringing it into the hands of the customer, right? So the customer doesn't really need to do anything, and the credit scoring is based primarily and purely on non-traditional methods, you know, and the metrics that were previously utilized, things like your income and things like that, would not work for this type of service. So we're providing unsecured loans to the customers, and JUMO provides the engine and the technology that runs this, right? And they're able to do the scoring based off the back of the customer's actual information. So what happens in this case is that the customer doesn't change anything about their behavior. And so the first part about it is always, you know, how do we get ourselves to understand this, right? And then how do we then partner together to make this work? And obviously, being you know, the first mover in the market to deliver a product like this, the consumer education aspect of it is also quite key. But taking us back into the product, and you know, when I heard Naomi speak, you could almost feel as though the challenges are exactly the challenges that we faced, right? You know, how are we going to get the customers? How do we make sure that the KIC that we have on the customer is correct, and all of those types of things? So we together with JUMO provide the consumer obviously has to give their consent to have the data that is utilized to do the credit scoring passed on to JUMO. And so we work together with JUMO to make sure that one, they're able to release the loans into the wallets, that the wallets are ready to receive the loans, and on the other side that they're also, you know, ready to, it's possible for them to recover the loans, because you don't want to send money out and not collect. So that really is the back and core of the partnership between ourselves and JUMO, to make it possible to educate the customers together. There was a lot of road shows that we had to go on to make the consumer understand. As you can imagine, this was, you know, even to this day, we are still dealing with those types of things where some consumers do not fully understand that, you know, I can get a loan unsecured, I don't provide any collateral, and I can pay it back when the time comes. And so those are some of the challenges that we faced and we still face, but we continue to speak the message. You know, I was going to say to speak the gospel, but, you know, it really is one of the things that drives financial inclusion. Now, to speak into something that we call unintended consequences of the product, when the product was launched, it was meant to be a consumer loans type of service, right? But as we have grown together with the business and we start to respond to the customer's needs, you literally, before we started, you were giving away a maximum of 500 kwacha loans, right? And 500 kwacha today is just around about $20, right? This is where we came from when we launched the product. Today, we're giving out close to $500, 10,000 kwacha, which is a massive leap forward from where we were. And all of that means that now, before, what we saw was consumers were getting these loans, but when you look at the actual people who were actually consistently coming back to get these loans, it was your trader on the ground, the person that needed a little bit of money to go out and just buy a little bit of stock to take them through the day and repay. And the next day, the same story. So those are the types of things that we started to see. And we start to see, and we continue to see this evolution of the market where MSMEs are consistently utilizing these services to grow their businesses and get more working capital financing because they can't get it elsewhere. They wouldn't be able to get that kind of money. They're intimidated in certain instances to walk into a traditional bank, so they rather take it directly on their phone and they're able to repay it within a period. And there's a whole lot more innovation that's coming down. And we just urge the customers to look out for that. That makes it easier even for MSMEs to access even more financing in more flexible terms for them. So this really is the background and where we currently are with our partnership with JUMO around this loan services. Leeth, if you'd like to add.
Yeah, thanks, Chikondi. You basically said it all. But maybe just to add, this partnership has also helped Momo, the MTN Mobile Money service, in attracting new customers. Because you can imagine, this was the only MNO that had the service on its platform. It also increased wallet and customer activity or mobile money because people had more uses of cash going directly into the wallet as opposed to other players in the market who didn't have the service, and customers have sort of grown with it. On the plus side, it's also increased revenue for MTN. On the mobile money team, it's increased for revenue. And it's also a very important thing is help reduce churn. So, customers who are borrowing on the platform using the JUMO service will keep their SIM card active. You won't find them abandoning it after 2-3 months. So I think the partnership has worked quite well because it's a win-win situation. Also to note that I think our rates are ultra low and very competitive in the market, and most of our customers enjoy our low cost rates.
Thank you both for that. And a couple of things you said makes me turn to Omo now. I mean, there are two aspects you mentioned, just understanding the customer better and really investing a lot in customer education to make these partnerships work. And I know that's a core part of what IFC does. The other part, I think, is that many of these customers are those that wouldn't typically walk into a commercial bank or get service, right, from a commercial bank. And again, IFC does a lot of work with commercial banks, helping them understand, right, these types of customers and really then create the types of solutions that are appropriate for them. So maybe, Omo, you can speak to IFC's experience around those two key points.
Sure. I think part of the challenge with the MSME customer is that more so than retail consumers, they operate within an ecosystem. So they're buying from someone, they're selling to someone, they're middleman or they're distributor or they're a supplier. And so you really have to respond to the value chain and not just to that specific individual. And so understanding the value chain and understanding how you can try to create sort of a win-win-win situation for everyone who's involved in that value chain is often the impetus for partnerships, because there's always someone who knows better than you a specific part of the value chain, or who knows better than you or understands better than you that specific customer. Just as Naomi said, in her example, working with someone who technically understands women entrepreneurs was critical to their success. I think other factors come into play, and Leeth and Chikondi have mentioned this, such as being able to go to market quickly, responding to the needs of the MSME customers quickly. I think speed and convenience are very, very critical for those kinds of customers. So in terms of what we do, as I mentioned earlier, we have advisory programs in addition to our investment programs, advisory programs that support our banking, but increasingly not just banks, other financial services providers as well, to understand the MSME customers by leveraging data. And as Chikondi said, this is often non-traditional data. So really trying to get a sense of the ecosystem that MSME is operating in, and what are the transactions, what are the flows that are happening within that ecosystem, and how can we use that data to predict, for instance, who is likely to take on a loan or to adopt a specific solution, who's likely to churn, what are the amounts that will be useful for them, those kinds of things. And so really being able to leverage non-traditional data as a space that we have been working on increasingly. Actually, recently with KCB Bank, we there was an engagement focused on that, around really looking at how we can leverage non-traditional data to identify potential borrowers. So that's where I think I'll stop. Really being able to leverage non-traditional sources of data, I think, is a critical capability, and really a critical factor in many partnerships.
Thank you, and that's absolutely true. I think something that is borne out by what everyone else has said today. If you could, and again, I say this and I ask this knowing that it's 8 years and counting between MTN, Momo, and JUMO, but what would you do differently, and what do you see as opportunities to continuously enhance the value that this partnership and this solution brings to MSME clients, as you talked about? And I know, Leeth, one of the ways and areas you're looking at is rural penetration. So if you can talk a little bit about that, but really thinking about what has worked, what would you do differently, and where is your opportunity going forward? And I'll ask the same of all my panelists.
I think what we'll do differently is more sensitization in the rural areas. Like Chikondi mentioned, for us to be able to score a customer, we need consent to receive that PID or transactional data, as we call it. Once we receive that data, we are then able to come up with a loan offer. So you find that without sensitization, somebody like in the rural areas might have heard about it, but does not understand that you need to accept our terms and conditions first for us to score them. So they'll move around saying that I don't get loans from JUMO and MTN. I don't know why. But I think it's that aspect of more sensitization. I know Chikondi also mentioned roadshows, but roadshows, when you're penetrating the deep rural areas, it's also a challenge that we need to address, especially in 2024. We'll come up with a rural strategy. We'll go deep to rural areas and sensitize our customers on how to access the service.
Chikondi?
I think looking back, what would we do differently? I think on a lighter note, the first thing is we could have done it sooner, right? And make it more accessible for the customers. And I think that as we've grown, a little bit more of the aggression that we have shown around the service and educating the consumers that has kindly characterized the market that we've been doing, I think we would have done sooner. And we can continue to do a whole lot more of that as far as sensitizing the consumers are concerned. And I found it quite interesting what almost said, and I think that that's something that we'll likely take in, and she says you respond to the value chain and not just the specific consumer, the specific segment of the person that you're trying to solve for, right? So I think in sales, we call it the need behind the need, right? So I think that's something that we need to do a little bit better. Make the service available across, make the service respond to the entire ecosystem and not just the specific customer that you're trying to address in that particular moment. So I think that's quite important. That's one of the things that we're going to do going forward. And I think also, as you can imagine, during the evolution from being a telco into being a mobile money provider, send and receive money and cash in, cash out, into being what we are now, which is a platform business. One of the key things that we really have had to do, and the challenges that we faced, is really around process enhancement, right? How you grow your processes to be able to meet the need of your customers and to be able to support the products that you're rolling out. And as is the case, right? Most of the times you say the regulation follows the innovation, right? But even internally within the organization, the regulation within the organization follows the innovation. So those are some of the things that I think that we would do differently, and also continue to do, and to start to innovate the process a whole lot more quicker than we innovate the actual product that meets the customer. So that for me would be what we've learned along the way across this long and mutually beneficial partnership, and what we think that we'll be able to do better going forward.
Fantastic. I've said it better. Thank you. And Naomi, on your part with KCB?
So many things we could do differently, but I think one that is still a challenge even today is data disaggregation. I think from a bank point of view, we treat customers as customers, and just disaggregating it to this is female, this is youth, this is person with disabilities, which is things that keep coming up in reporting matrices lately, is still a big challenge. So how do you get data, clean data from the word go when you're onboarding customers? So I think it's still a lesson that we are working around. How do we get to disaggregate data to serve us in ways that will make our customers' needs met to the detail that they would want their needs met? And even other than just having digital solutions, how do you then scale up when they need larger solutions, larger credit facilities? There is a limit to how much digital limits can go. Then how do you then move to the next level, but at a convenient platform for the customer? And that is also one of the things we were trying to address with this innovative solution, because the digital facilities were very small. And for you to scale your business, you really need a value that, is substantial. So it's still work in progress. It's still things we are working around to ensure that the customers we serve are fully taken care of in terms of their needs. So innovation, I believe, is ongoing. As you keep addressing one need, you still find another complexity. Something that is also a challenge is now around data privacy. While we needed to get information from different data sources, it's now becoming very complex how you access that information and use it to your benefit. So I believe it's something that we are learning, and we will still have to find ways of overcoming it as we go.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. A really big thank you to all my panelists. I think, you laid out challenges that, pretty much all the providers that we speak to, that we work with, say when they're trying to create appropriate services and solutions for MSMEs. But you've also, I think, clearly outlined the opportunities and the approach that you've taken that has worked. And if I can summarize, going forward, I think looking at partnerships is really making sure that you're identifying and working with partners whose mission and values are aligned with the institutions that have the appropriate level of agility, so that as your needs as an institution, as your customers' needs evolve, they can also evolve with you, and the solutions that you co-create can also evolve. That's a key learning for me. There's an emphasis on customer education, so ensuring that the end customer has the appropriate knowledge, tools and information to really be able to use the solutions and services that the partnership is bringing on board. And of course, we talked about the ecosystem approach, ensuring that we're looking at the entire value chain, because I think the more we can facilitate partnerships across different members within the value chain, the better it is for the end customer. And I think the more impactful that's going to be. And last but not the least, really ensuring that we're understanding, collecting, using data in the most appropriate ways, because really that's the catalyst for all these things that we're talking about. And I'm glad to say that these are all things that the handbook explores in more detail. So really, have enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for that. I'll ask Omo to say the final words about the handbook and how to access it after these discussions.
Thanks, Raliat. So at this stage, we're finalizing the review of the handbook, which will touch on many of the topics that you've discussed today around data, around value chains, around customer education, and very importantly, around partnerships. And it will be made available through our website, obviously, but also we will be conducting some in-person sessions in various countries to share and discuss a little bit more about the handbook. As I said, this particular topic is one that we've been having increasingly since the pandemic. So around partnerships to serve MSMEs and to serve other customers in general, and leveraging digital to do so. So we'll continue to do that, and with the help of the handbook, which will be available soon. I can't give a specific date, but soon. And yes, I look, and some of your case studies are showcased in there as well. So I'm really looking forward to being able to share that and to help others who are embarking on their partnership journey, make better decisions that lead to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Omo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day.